Hey, what is up guys? So today's video is going to be a little bit different from my normal videos. I'm going to be covering, in my view, what the main types of ethical vegans are. I've never really seen a video like this, and I think as somebody who's been in the vegan cult for around 6 years now, I have a pretty decent idea of the types of vegans out there. Now, before I go on with this video, I do want to say that this is not a sort of set in stone thing. There's going to be some overlap between certain categories of vegans that I go over. And also, I'm not going to be able to cover every single type of ethical vegan out there. And if you notice, I'm saying ethical vegan. And the reason I'm saying that is because this video is based in vegan ethics. I'm not going to be saying here like, oh, we have over here an environmental vegan and then a health vegan. I'm going over specifically the types of ethical vegans who identify as vegan for the animals. And just one more warning, depending on the category that you find yourself in, you may be offended at some of the ways I describe these things, and this is just the way that I view these certain kinds of vegans. Let's begin. So I want to start with the type of ethical vegan that I've always resonated with and what I find myself to be, and that is the sort of scientific vegan. These are the ethical vegans that are very concerned with keeping the vegan message solely based on facts, and they tend to have a very big appreciation for logical consistency. Their intentions to keep the vegan movement truthful can often be misconstrued by some as pointless infighting, when in reality, they have a very strong value for keeping the vegan movement truthful and do not believe that the ends, in this case, a vegan world, justify the means. In other words, exaggerating scientific facts and spreading pseudoscience to convince people to go vegan is just not right. These kinds of vegans also are not very easily offended and will be quick to refine their position on something when shown to be wrong, even if it means retracting a previously held position that made veganism look good. In short, these vegans think like scientists and are very open to being wrong, even if it means making veganism less credible. But regardless, they are still human and have inevitable biases, just probably less than the average vegan. Okay, so now I want to go over the antithesis of the scientific / logical vegan, and that is the vegan ideologue. This is the vegan who 100% believes in any fact supporting veganism, whether it be given to them from an Instagram infographic with no sources or an actual legitimate source of scientific literature. Contrary to the previously discussed vegan, this vegan cares about bringing about animal liberation by whatever means necessary. They generally do believe that the ends justify the means, so if exaggerating health claims and environmental claims results in convincing more non-vegans to go vegan, which in turn saves more animals, they are for it without hesitation. For obvious reasons, the ideologue vegan will often view the scientific vegan as somebody who is just causing pointless infighting, or is just trying to debate or be dramatic or whatever, when really they just want the vegan movement to be more truthful. The vegan ideologue will also sometimes view a scientific vegan as not truly being an ethical vegan or not truly being in it for the animals, when in reality, as stated before, the scientific vegan just wants the vegan movement to be more based in truth and not risk any extremely empirically minded people to be so turned off to vegans that they end up not going vegan. Generally speaking, the ideologue vegan is under the belief that eating one serving of meat per century will damage your health. Obviously, animal products generally aren't healthy, but an ideologue vegan has a hard time conceptualizing the idea that it is possible to not be a vegan and be healthy. For example, just eating one serving of meat per week. If a carnivore or omnivore sends a study against veganism to a vegan ideologue, the vegan ideologue will dismiss the study without even reading it. Anything that goes against or even attempts to go against veganism to the vegan ideologue is inherently wrong. Obviously, as a scientific vegan, I'm a bit biased when I say this, but I do think that we should have less vegan ideologues in the movement, because I think it's a big problem if we have vegan ideologues representing facts and turning off very empirically minded people that aren't vegan yet, that could be such strong assets to the vegan movement, but don't really decide to go vegan because they're turned off by some vegan ideologue really exaggerating scientific facts, whether they're related to health or the environment. So the next type of vegan I would like to discuss is the conspiratorial vegan. And we've seen many more of these come up in the last 1.5 years. This is just speculation, but I theorize that the reason there are so many vegans who are conspiratorial is because conspiratorial people, by their very nature, whether they know it or not, enjoy having a minority or uncommon opinion. and veganism is just that. Intuitively, it just makes sense to me why a conspiratorially minded person would be driven to join a group of people that is about 1% of the population and are going against the system. A part of veganism that appeals to these people a lot is the pointing out of corporate interests and monetary incentives by the meat, dairy, and egg industry. These vegans are strongly moved by emotionally compelling anecdote rather than the totality of evidence. And when faced with the scientific evidence, they are hard to sway because they also have the belief or feeling that the data has been manipulated. These vegans also tend to overlap with another kind of vegan, which I'm going to discuss now, and that is the pseudoscience vegan. These are the ethical vegans who are very attracted to things like fruitarianism, water fasting, and other variations of the vegan lifestyle that aren't too scientifically substantiated. Like the conspiratorial vegan, they are very moved by anecdotes. If this person hears of one person who had some perceived benefits on a water fast, or even drinking their own urine, or some random, not clinically proven detox tea that you can find on Amazon, they will most likely be very compelled to try it. In my view, these types of vegans are a big danger to the vegan movement because they can make another person's first impression of veganism be a very nutrient deficient diet. When I was 15 to 16 years old, I came across Darian Ryder and I didn't know much about nutritional science or food, and he was trying to tell people that pouring refined sugar on your oatmeal was perfectly fine because when it came to health, all you had to care about was reducing your fat intake and increasing your carb intake. Little did I know, I was damaging my health and literally pouring loads of refined sugar on my oatmeal. The next vegan I would like to discuss are intersectional vegans. Now these vegans are probably one of the most well-intentioned of the vegans I'm describing in this video. They have a very strong concern for all victims of oppression, which is obviously a good thing. These vegans often clash with hardcore ethical vegans, who I will be covering right now alongside intersectional vegans. Intersectional vegans have a goal to make the vegan movement more inclusive and representative of other, if not all, social justice issues. The hardcore vegans view this as a derail from animal rights and fundamentally want the vegan movement to be solely about the animals. An example of this is an intersectional vegan wanting a hardcore vegan to include human issues such as immigrant workers suffering in plant agriculture in their vegan activism. The hardcore vegan usually responds with, quote, "Veganism is solely about the animals," end quote. In the hardcore vegan's view, it of course is a great thing to, as a person, speak up on social justice issues surrounding humans, but they don't think it is necessary to include in vegan activism and also think that it further dilutes the vegan message. In the same way that Black Lives Matter activists get upset when somebody brings up the phrase "all lives matter," the hardcore vegan gets upset when they are trying to talk about animals and somebody says, "What about human lives," etc. Hardcore vegans believe that the arguments and the facts surrounding animal oppression are generally unique, and for this reason, the animals deserve their own movement and refuse to integrate their animal rights activism with social justice activism. The intersectional vegan will sometimes view this as a kind of prejudice toward minority groups or people of color, when in reality, the hardcore vegan does object to things like racism and ethnocentrism, but just refuses to include it in their vegan activism. Ironically, the hardcore vegan will view the intersectional vegan's position as evidence that they still are a bit speciesist and prioritize human activism over animal activism. Okay guys, that is the end of the video. I do want to acknowledge that obviously this video was completely biased and from the viewpoint of somebody who identifies as a scientific vegan, hence my sort of, disliking of pseudoscience vegans, conspiratorial vegans, and vegan ideologues. I would be lying if I said the intention of this video was just to objectively and descriptively describe the types of vegans in the vegan movement. One of my intentions was also to bring light to the kinds of vegans in the movement that I think we should not have. There's obviously a bunch of other types of ethical vegans I didn't cover in this video. For example, spiritual vegans, junk food vegans, passive vegans, and just a bunch of others. So if you want me to make a part 2 of this video, let me know, and also let me know what other kinds of vegans you'd like me to describe, and I'll consider making a part 2. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you support my work and want to support me on Patreon, the link is in the description below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Dude, Even vegans don't get your weird, stupid wannabe sense of irony here. Who's your audience? Nobody gets these dumb jokes. Dude, even vegans don't get your weird,